My dear brothers and sisters here at Holy Cross, we continue our series on Paul's letter to the Romans with chapter 4, verses 18 and 19. And in verses 18 and 19, Paul says, hoping against hope, he believed that he would become the father of many nations, according to what was said. So numerous shall your descendants be. He did not weaken in faith when he considered his own body, which was already as good as dead, for he was about 100 years old, or when he considered the barrenness of Sarah's womb. One of the hard things for us to get our heads around, and quite frankly, one of the hard things for the Jews in the Second Temple era to get their head around, was all of the crazy things that happened to Abraham. When we read the story of Abraham, what jumps off the page is the incredible nature of how Abraham's children come about. Abraham's not a young man. Either when Ishmael's born, but especially when Isaac is born. In fact, we know that it was so incredible that even Abraham and Sarah couldn't believe what was being said. Once again, Paul says, remember that story of Abraham, how Abraham banged his head on the ground out of laughter. How Sarah snickered in the tent. How the angels wanted to know why Sarah was laughing. The story was so incredible that even the people that the story was about couldn't believe that the story was happening to them. That's how incredible it was. So here we have a story that even the people in the story can't believe the story is happening to them. It's hard to get your head around the idea that two old people traveling around the Middle East would have enough capacity not only to wind up in the promised land, but also to have a child. Now, if that weren't enough, Paul would ask you to remember what Isaac's name means, which is he who laughs. Everybody was laughing because this offer was so absurd. The offer that God gave was so absurd that nobody could believe that this was the point of the story or that this could happen. The promise that God gives to Abraham is that my abundance, my creative abundance, my loving creative abundance will overcome all of our skepticism. Abraham's skepticism, Sarah's skepticism, all the people who have read the story in the Bible since that story happened. All of that skepticism, Paul says, is washed away when we understand that the incredible offer that God gives us, that is written in love, comes about again in Jesus Christ. And when we can understand that that offer given to Abraham by God is the same offer given in and through Jesus Christ, the promise of abundance, a promise of being healed, the promise of becoming what we're truly called to be by God, the promise that God will overcome all of the heartbreak and sorrow and all of the problems of this life, not by washing it away and making us forget that there was ever pain, but by offering us to go deeply into what it means to be a human being. What he's really saying is, Abraham, I will be with your people. I will be with you when times are difficult and painful and lonely and hard. I will be with your offspring. And ultimately, that yes that God offers to Abraham comes back to us in the yes that God offers to us in Jesus Christ. And Jesus doesn't come and say, I'm going to heal everybody magically so that you all can believe that I'm the world's greatest magician. No, what Jesus says, I will come and I will heal, and you will see that the mission that I am on is the mission of love, God's love for the whole world. And eventually, I will die and suffer and have pain and sorrow just like all of you, because God is with us in our pain and brokenness and loneliness. And God asks us to say yes to the unbelievable healing and love that is made manifest at that yes in Abraham and that yes in Jesus Christ. He says he did not weaken in faith when he considered his own body, which was already as good as dead. He said he was 100 years old. You're going to start doing something new with me when I'm 100 years old, actually 99. Why did you wait so long, God? Why did you have to wait until I was 100 years old? Couldn't we have started this maybe when I was 80 or 70 or 60? Couldn't we have started this at the beginning of my life? God says, I need to show you that my power and my authority so far outweigh the wages of death and sin, of destruction, and all of the decomposition that our bodies will go through. Paul says, even the barrenness of Sarah's womb is overcome. She might be 95. She might be barren. But God says, I indeed will be there, because I am the God of creation, and I am the God that brings into life all things. God isn't interested in showing us the harsh reality of life. We already can see that. That's what we all have right in front of us. We all know the limitations with which we live. No, God says, look beyond those limitations. Look beyond just the death of Jesus on the cross and go to the tomb and roll away the stone and see there is God overcoming death. And there is the same promise of life and love and restoration as the yes and the promise of Abraham and Yahweh all the way back at the beginning with Abraham. In fact, we're going to hear in Romans that Paul's not interested in stopping at Abraham. He's going to remind us that indeed Jesus is the new Adam. That all of that sin and death and oppression and all of that shame and brokenness that entered through Adam and Eve is healed in Jesus Christ. And that yes that Abraham gave to God finds its fulfillment in Jesus Christ's offer of himself on the cross for us. That even there in death, Jesus is offering forgiveness and love and blessing and healing, and calling all of us to remember that God will indeed redeem, restore, renew, and heal all people in creation through his love. Amen. God bless.